Okay, so welcome everyone to tonight's call. For those of you watching the replay, this is Friday, December 13th. Today, what I want to do is give you guys an action plan for the next 90 days. Now, some of you have been with me for some time. Some of you guys have seen this stuff before. One, a refresher is never a bad thing. But also, as we go through this, even if you've seen some of this before, you've watched some of the maybe recommended modules, maybe you're also already a member of Wholesaling with Mike University. What I want you to do is try and isolate how far you've gotten, right? Where did you get stuck? And then we kind of go through that. So, as most of you guys know, I've been in the business for quite some time. I've been here since 2012, worked with a lot of students. And I find that oftentimes with so much information, it can get overwhelming, right? And so a lot of the thing you got to realize, this is not a complicated business, okay? It's relatively easy. Not to insult anyone here, but like this is something I could teach to my 14-year-old daughter or to my 9-year-old nephew. It's just that often you get overwhelmed with all the different information. What should I do? What should I be doing? Where should I focus? Am I looking for sellers today or buyers today? And so the goal of today is kind of to pull back a little bit. I'm going to assume for more or less that everyone's kind of a blank slate. So if some of the stuff's a little basic, particularly in the beginning, stick with me. And I want to show you exactly what you should be doing. And I find that oftentimes, especially when I work with new students, when I'm able to break things down step by step, okay, do this first, do this next, you tend to get much better results, okay? So I'm going to jump on and share my screen, and we're going to get right into today's presentation. I'm going off of a mind map that I made for you guys, and at the end of the call, I'll send that out so you guys can have kind of a blueprint to go along and to follow as you move through this. The idea here is to move with a massive, massive sense of urgency. Some of you guys have been in here for a long time, or you've been watching YouTube, or you've been learning about the business for a long time. And especially with the new year coming, you want to get started now. Anyone who's here thinking, okay, I'm going to start next week, I'm going to start, after the Christmas holiday or whatever, you're already screwing yourself over. You're already doing yourself a disservice. You want to go into the new year with momentum built, right? With already some things in your pipeline so you can start the year off on the right foot, so you can start building up some habits. This whole business, so much of it is built on that concept of momentum. And then, as much as I try to make this predictable, being very analytical, looking at metrics, looking at KPIs, there is a randomness to the game. So there are times where, let's say you are making cold calls tomorrow, randomly, you could potentially meet a seller tomorrow, talk to them, right? They're ready to go, you get a deal done, and maybe it gets closed in a couple of weeks, but then you have the profit from that deal, which can then turn into another two deals. Those deals, two deals turn into four deals. And so the business grows very much exponentially. It's not so much this diagonal line that people think it is. It's more like the J curve, where you start off, you don't see anything, no progress, no results, and then boom, it takes off. But if you skip that day, you didn't make your calls today, what happens is it might be another 4 weeks before a similar opportunity presents itself to you. Okay. So keep that in mind. I want you guys all taking action. My goal for you is to see results. Also, I'm going to be talking about a 90-day plan here. Understand that obviously, right, as you go through business, sometimes things change. Some steps might take a little bit longer than others. Some steps you might get to a little bit faster. So keep that in mind. There is some flexibility here. This is more or less an ideal. And for a lot of you guys, you see the taglines and things on YouTube. Hey, you can get a deal in 30 days. You absolutely can. And I've had plenty of students who have done that, but we're stretching this out a little bit further because you don't want to, like a lot of people, they don't see results in 30 days and then they quit. And you don't want to be one of those people, because you could be that 3 feet from gold. So I want you guys to really stick with this. And I promise you, if you go through this, like, you will see results. It's very much, and especially the way I teach it, it's very much formulaic in the sense that I try not to focus on some of the random things. For example, driving for dollars. Driving for dollars absolutely works. You will get deals, but can I really quantify that? Not really. So that type of marketing, that type of activity works, but it's random. It's kind of hope marketing. Whereas I want to show you, just like weight loss, right? If you eat in a caloric deficit, right, you're burning more calories than you consume. You're sleeping right, eating right. you go to the gym 5 days a week, there's no way you don't lose the weight. Like, it just doesn't happen. And that's the way that I try to teach this stuff to you guys. Okay. So with that said, for anyone just joining us, again, thanks for being here. Make sure you drop questions as we go. We'll do some Q&A at the end there. And right now, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So this is my 90-day success plan. We're going to go all the way up and start with week 1. Okay. So week 1, it's going to be very simply your education, your research, and your planning. You do need the knowledge to do this, right? But this should not be taking you a long time. So I've got some timelines on here. The first step is going to be to learn the wholesaling business model. Some of you may know this. You may know it from YouTube. Timeline that I have on this, 3 to 7 days, and really closer to 3, but I understand people have stuff going on. So I'm going to invite everyone here to first off watch the core curriculum inside of Wholesaling with Mike University. This is my online program, my course. If you guys know me from YouTube, right, a lot of those videos on there, they're just questions people ask me and I answer them more or less in random fashion. There's no, chronological order to it. This program is laid out in fully chronological order, so you know exactly what to do step by step. Some of the stuff you may know already. Again, repetition is never a bad thing. Some of the concepts you may know 95% of it, but it's the last 5% that you're missing that makes this work. Some of these things, they're outdated, they're antiquated, things you see online, things you see on blogs, on Facebook, they don't work, okay? Or they are not efficient, and I teach them a completely different way in this course, which has been updated, by the way. It is free at this link, so when you guys get this, you can just click on there, you go in, you can grab it for free. I've got a free trial of some other stuff I'm going to show you tonight. But go through the program, it's yours to keep forever for free. And just some of the sample lessons here, we've got the intro to wholesaling. It assumes, blank slate. But then it goes through, and I also teach in a very holistic way, meaning it's not just about, hey, how do I fill out a contract? How do I run my comps? Yes, all that stuff is in there, but it's also, how do I set up my day? How do I make sure I'm consistent? How do I put together a routine? What's the activity levels? What are the numbers? What do I need to do on a daily basis? How many calls does it take? So all of that information is in there. So you want to watch this, and you don't need to understand it perfectly. My goal here is not to get you to be the most educated wholesaler. I know people who've been watching videos I talk to people for months. Some people have been studying for years. They could probably take a test on this, pass it 100%, never done a deal, okay? So you want to go in, watch through all of this, and this is just to make sure you have the foundational knowledge. Even my one-on-one students, I make them go through and watch this. Now, just so you guys know, not to sound Debbie Downer or what have you, but when you have like a course, you can see the back end. So I can see what percentage of people actually watch how much of the program. And I can tell you that the vast majority of people, they're selling themselves short. They're either taking way too long to watch it, or a lot of people just don't even finish it. And in a lot of cases, these are the same folks who will then come on and complain, wholesaling doesn't work, oh, this is a scam, whatever it is. But they've never taken the time. This is something that can take you literally 3 days. And you have people who go out there because of the social narrative. They'll spend 4 years at a university, maybe get into debt, $50,000, $100,000 for a degree they're not going to use. This is worth your time to understand how to do it properly. Again, most of these videos are like over the shoulder style. So it'll show you like how to fill out contracts, what contingencies need to be in there, especially if you want to do this risk-free. It's missing from a lot of public information. So that's going to be step 1, 3 to 7 days. And again, a lot of people don't even finish that. So if you do that, you're already ahead of game. You don't have to worry about, oh, 90% of people fails, because 90% of people don't do the work. Okay, step 2 is going to be research and your personal audits. Now, this part is incredibly important and effective, but this is something that I don't see most people talking about, and most people do not do this. So there are 3 primary audits that I want you to go through. And the reason that you do this is because despite what you've maybe been told, and even despite my email today that said, hey, I got a 90-day plan for you, what happens is a lot of online videos say, hey, here's a 30-day plan, 90-day plan, and then you just go in and work, I guess, that plan, but it doesn't take into account your personal situation. Meaning, I've had students come to me with no money at all and a ton of time. And some students come to me and they have very limited time, but they have a lot of money to spend. I would be a very poor coach if I gave those same people the same business plan, okay? So you want to personalize this. So there are basically three things that you want to go over. One, you want to choose a target market, and you want to choose a target market based on actual cash buyer data. This is so important. Guys, if this seems like a little bit tedious, I promise you this exercise again takes 1 to 2 days, and when you do this, it will save you about 6 months of just spinning your wheels, wasting time, wasting money. I've seen it over and over again because we want to get super laser focused on who, what we're doing, what our target market is, what the target audience is. I've got a lot of analogies for these. One thing I like is like, I said, hey man, imagine you got a Rolex, okay? And it's worth 20 grand and you could get it for like 7. And then you're like, okay, I'm gonna wholesale this, right? I'm gonna sell this Rolex that's worth 20 for $10,000. But you walk into a Walmart and you're like, hey, anybody want to buy this Rolex for 10K, right? $10,000 cash. Well, it's a great deal, but you're mismatched in your product and your target market because most people walking around Walmart probably don't have $10,000 in cash on them. Okay, so we want to match up what we're actually putting under contract, and we want to match that up with what buyers are actually buying. And when I say buyers are actually buying, I mean, what does the actual data tell us about what cash buyers are actually buying in a given area? Not with the people on Facebook that pose as buyers, that a lot of them are wholesalers, a lot of them are new to the game, a lot of people talk a big game, but they're not actually buying. So you want to do this target market exercise. Then you want to have a property archetype. What type it should be boiled down. This is not to say you can't do other things, right? I can sell condos and townhouses and luxury homes and gated communities, but that's not my ideal. This is marketing 101, okay? So for me, what I look for is single family homes, like starter communities, not war zones, not luxury, gated communities. Concrete block, very important based on my market because I'm in Florida and there's a lot of hurricanes and stuff. And the ideal target for me is a rehabber who's going to fix this thing up and flip it to a first time home buyer with maybe just started a family, right? That's what works best. This will also help you to understand, or you should understand, what people are buying for in that market, meaning your investors, your cash buyers you're selling to. It has to make sense. I've had students bring me deals on paper, the numbers look great, and they're like, Mike, how come we can't sell this? I'm like, dude, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's in swampland. You have to be able to justify to a buyer, why would they buy this? How will they make money on it? Are they going to buy it for a rental? Are they going to buy it to fix and flip? And some areas are more conducive to maybe fixing and flipping and reselling versus maybe somewhere where where there are a lot of landlords just buying, doing minimal rehab, and sticking a Section 8 tenant in there. Okay, and you have to understand that data. So inside of Wholesale with Mike University, after you finish the core curriculum, the next section is called your action plan. These are the 3 audits you need to do. Again, this takes a day and saves you at least 6 months. So you're going to do that, right? And I'm going to pause here and dip over to the side just to kind of demonstrate what I'm talking about here, okay? So this is someone on Facebook who like wrote a book or whatever, and I saw the preview, and I try really hard not to like shit on other people, but it's not that this is wrong, but this is so basic level. It's a good starting point, but if you guys are running your business on information like this, you're screwing yourself over. So this is what's taught traditionally, right? And it basically says, I'm sure you guys know this, max allowable offer. You're going to use, I mean, here it says use Zillow, Truly, or Realtor to get the property's value. Not correct, but divide the numbers by 3 and then times it by 70%, right? And that's what a lot of people have been taught. But what really works is, again, studying and knowing the data of what actual cash buyers are buying, because it varies based on market to market. It varies based on economic times. For example, I have sold properties like down in Miami in very high demand areas at like 85% of ARV, and largely neglecting repairs. Now, I'm able to do that because I understand what buyers are willing to pay. They're willing, in some situations, to overpay because there's so much competition. Now, if I use something like this and I'm going to make all my offers at 70%, I'm not going to get a contract. On the flip side, if I go to like, I don't know, North Carolina and I say, hey, I want to wholesale at 85%, the demand's probably not as high. And even if I get those properties under contract, I'm not going to be able to sell them. So there are a couple different ways I demonstrate in the program how to find this information. As a quick example, if I were doing this right now, I've got Tampa, Florida pulled up. So the first thing I would do is look at where's the density, right? We're looking at a heat map here. Where's the most activity taking place? It's not that I can't wholesale a deal up here where there's 28, but my time is a limited resource, right? I have a finite budget. So let's say if I'm, and this is especially true if you're in somewhere with way less demand. I don't know, some rural area. I see this a lot on online on Facebook groups. It's like, man, maybe you could spend $5,000 to do a deal, right? But then you also have to haggle with your buyers because there's so few of them. There's no competition. Maybe you do one deal. Or you could take the same amount of effort, you could take the same amount of money and come to an area like this, and that 5 grand could turn into 5 deals, right? And then you can start bidding wars and even get people to pay more. So if I come in here, I'm like, hey man, I need a target market. Let me come in here. I'm just gonna go in here. I'm gonna target where it says 148. I'm gonna target 132. I'm gonna target 167. You can also see the gray are more like urban areas. I'm not looking over here. It's all green. Don't mess with those areas. Stay away from there. We'll talk about a little bit of virtual wholesaling in a bit. All right, so I'd come in here. The other thing that I want to do is I want to look at, look at here. I can see how many of these properties were purchased as a fix and flip, right? So 389, and I can also see that how many were purchased below market, meaning they're likely a landlord purchasing for cash flow, right? So I can come in, I can zoom in, get to know my markets. The module would take you into much more detail on this, right? But I can see where the activity is happening. And then on top of that, right, let's say I want to look at these properties here. Let's check it out in the list style. Instead of looking at, okay, it's 70% of ARV, I can come in here if my computer would load. I need to get it. Let me get it a little closer. And there we go. I can see what percentage. I can see what percentage of ARV cash buyers are buying at. This you take with a little bit of grain of salt because those comps are coming in kind of automated, whereas comping, as you guys probably know, is more a manual process. But I can see the price points, right? So I don't want to be in areas where I'm targeting stuff at $1 million or even $100,000. You can look at this, export it, look at it the way you look at the way you did math in grade school, median, mode, and see where the pockets, the most activities taking place. Okay, most of these properties are sold between 250 and 400,000. Now, I don't need to worry about this 70%, all that stuff, because I know that's more hypothetical and more idealistic. Now I know exactly what people are buying. Okay, if I'm in this zip code and I get a property at 250, I get it sold. Okay, and that's the point you kind of want to get to. So that's why we do that audit. The next audit you do is you create your reverse schedule. This is based on a lot of productivity training, looking at the highest, most effective just business people and companies in the world. And there's a lot of research and studies that I go through in these videos. But when a new student comes to me, some of you guys might have signed up for my free calls that I do. One of the questions I ask is, how much time do you have available? How much time can you work on this? And the most common answer is as much as it takes. And I'm like, dude, that is so unrealistic. Okay, you can't just come in and say, I'll do as much as it takes, because you're setting yourself up for failure. So what we want to do is create a schedule where you put in your priorities, you put in your playtime. And there's a lot of science I go into in the video, but I won't do that here. But you isolate the white spaces, the times where you can commit, where no matter what, even my date night, my time with my kids, that stuff's already built into my schedule. So I have no excuses. This is the time I'm going to stick to. And then based on your time, that's going to help us to determine the strategy that you want to use. We want to get laser focused here. Then you want to determine your budget. Same thing. A lot of people come in. How much can you spend? I can spend about $200 a month. It's like, no, not about. So we have an exercise where I have you go through your credit cards, your bank statements, like line by line, and see where you're kind of wasting money. Especially for my beginners, this is really important. You don't get into the business to be cheap and be frugal and have to pinch pennies. But in the beginning, there's seasons for everything, right? So you might have to make a couple of sacrifices. So if you got Netflix and Disney Plus and PlayStation, and you did Uber Eats 4 times this week, you ate out at a restaurant, 3 times, I'm going to say, listen, during this period, the next 3 months, just cut all that off. See what your actual budget is, and then look at it the way a bank would look at you if they were trying to give you a loan, right? What can you reasonably pay comfortably every month? So I want you guys to go inside. Again, this is in Wholesale with Mike University, an action plan. Do those 3 exercises. This takes 1 to 2 days. And then the next module is going to be called strategy selection. So based on where you are, your market, your time available, and your budget, it's going to say, okay, don't be like most people. I think I have a little graphic down here. Most people, they are either all over the place, they spread themselves too thin, they spend a little money here, a little here, here, here. Um, it's never enough to reach the threshold that you need to do a deal. Or they're basically saying, okay, I'm going to throw everything to the wall and see what sticks. Never works, okay? You want to get laser focused. You know what your product is. You know what people are buying. It's much easier to sell someone something that they're already purchasing. And then based on the numbers, the metrics, that'll tell you what your strategy needs to be. A good example I like to use for this is direct mail. A lot of people hear direct mail. Okay, I'll send out some mail and then I'll get, leads and prospects. But they don't know the actual metrics, how much money it takes to make a wholesale deal. Now, when I started, there were times I got lucky. I did a mailer and spent like $200. I got a deal. But you don't want to rely on just luck, okay? You want to make it predictable. Now, when I also started, I was maybe, I've had times where I'm paying like $500 and every 500 I spend, I get a deal. But that number's increased, okay? Now it's more like about $2,000. So if you know that number and you have $2,000 to spend comfortably on your marketing, you could spend it every month. Every time you spend it, you're gonna make like 10 times back on your money, right? Or at least like 10K predictably. So you can just do that. It's a machine. You put $2 in, 10 comes out. You can just keep doing that over and over. A lot of people will have a budget of 1,000. They'll say, okay, I'll do direct mail. They spend their 1,000, then they have no return. Now they have no money. They're starting over from zero. It's a cyclical, this cycle, right? So this is going to help you to determine your strategy. Inside of Wholesale with Mike University, navigate to materials library, pick up the cheat sheet, and that's going to tell you how much money it takes or how many calls it makes or whatever your given strategy is. Going to tell you that's what you need to be pursuing right now. And then you can use that to reverse engineer your goals. You'll notice as I teach, a lot of times what I try to do is chunk things down and into, I don't know, small actionable steps so you don't get overwhelmed. Also, I try to use, I'm very analytical in using data to make these things predictable. So if you understand, hey, if I'm using this certain type of list and it takes 1,000 phone calls, right, for me to get a deal, that sounds intimidating. But if I say, okay, well, I'm going to do a deal in 30 days, it's like 1,000 divided by 30 days. You're talking like, 33 calls in a day. Very doable, very, very doable. And then when you reverse engineer it, hey, I want to make, $120,000 this year. Okay, cool. What is that? $10,000 a month. Okay, that's one deal a month. Okay. Well, my given strategy is, let's call it cold calls. If I want to get to one deal, and you see how you break it down, and you know, okay, I have to make X amount of calls every single day. And that's what that cheat sheet is going to show you. So guys, we're not even past the first week now, but that's the initial planning. And what I find is most people, they skip that step. Here's my graphic, okay? The wrong way. Most people, they watch some YouTube, they learn a whole bunch of different lead sources and a whole bunch of strategies, and they try a little bit of everything, and most of the time it doesn't work. But in the few rare cases where it does work, they get a deal, but there's like, they don't know kind of how they got there, or if they can repeat it or replicate it or whatever. Here, we're going to do our audits, our market, our time, our budget. And you're going to say, okay, if I have X amount of money and this amount of time, I go with this strategy. If I do this, I have had this much time, this much money, I do this strategy, etc. And again, that's all broken down and explained in those videos. Okay, so next thing we want to do is get to week 2. Week 2 is going to be all about setup, okay? So for your first step here, which is now step 4, getting to week 2, is going to be to set up your CRM. This timeline is going to be 1 to 3 days. Now, for some of you, understand, hey man, I don't even have a budget for a CRM. If that's you, you got to start where you are. You got to start somewhere. I started this business literally with nothing. Okay, my first deal was without a penny. I can tell you when I was using free Google Excel spreadsheets and trying to organize that way, it takes a lot longer and it also gets very, very expensive. CRM is the very first thing that I recommend people buy. I think if you go through your budget exercise, you do it properly, you do what it takes, right? This is a business. And if you want to do what it takes, whether it's, hey, I got to get a credit card. Hey, I got to have a garage sale. I got to sell my PlayStation. Do what it takes. There are seasons for things. There's a season to make a sacrifice, and this will come back to you that much faster. So get a CRM. Now, that being said, I do have, obviously, my own preferred CRM. It's called REI Titan. That is my recommendation. That's what I'm using personally. So my students are using. And guys, I didn't get into the game to be a software guy. Being in the business for over 12 years now, I have used over 20 different CRMs. And for me, it was more kind of need based. I got tired of all my messaging sounding like a robot or nowadays like a chat GPT. I got tired of all my, direct mail looking the same as everyone else's and starting to watch my conversions go down. Systems built by people who are good programmers, but who don't know shit about real estate or wholesaling and always asking, hey, can we do this? Can we do this? Can we switch up the dialer this way? And nothing ever happening. And so this was born kind of out of need. And so the idea here is that this CRM is your full marketing machine. It's built on this concept to just automate as much as possible. Certain things I see online are like a little bit annoying, right? When people try to like negotiate over text or have AI negotiate, that's not what you want. You don't want to do that. That needs to be a human to human interaction. You want your system to filter everything for you, to book appointments for you, to find the leads, remove the duds, send you the qualified leads, follow up with your prospects. That's exactly what this system does, okay? So it's like a big funnel. You dump your leads in the top. They go through automations, AI, all that good stuff, campaigns, and your deals, your strongest leads, the deals kind of fall out the bottom. And it will save you a ton of time. It will save you a ton of effort and a ton of money, quite frankly, because it's efficient, right? So if you guys are interested in that, just click on that when you get the mind map. There is a free trial. A lot of people don't offer that, but I really believe in this product. It's been working amazing. And just some samples of things in there. It's basically made to run your business like a McDonald's, right? Like a well-oiled machine. So some of the features quickly, done for your websites, automated workflows, power dialers, CRM, direct mail, electronic document signing. I used to duct tape a lot of systems together. So it's kind of all in one. So on this first 3 days here, you're going to come in, you're going to complete the initial setup, right? It's to make it your own. You're going to get a domain name, website. It's already built for you. You just got to like tack all your stuff together. Doesn't require any computer knowledge. Then you have to put your email in, set up your email, set up your phone numbers. That way, all of the built-in automations will start going to work for you automatically. So it's kind of like having a team of VAs that are working for you. Again, if you're not there now, you still need to have some kind of processes here, but you're gonna lose out on stuff. It's hard to play this game against people who have this. Also, when you're in a place where you have like 10 leads, you can kind of organize it and do follow-up and stuff like that. When you get into the hundreds and like thousands, it's damn near impossible. So that's going to be timeline 1 to 3 days, right? So now we're getting into week 2. Next, you want to practice your script. If there is one skill set I can tell you that's going to get you in this game, it's just talking to people, man. And you'd be so surprised that, especially in our group coaching program, when we do some of the role play, and my guys know that, like, I'll give you tough love. Most people are really, really, really bad at this. And the cool thing is you can still do deals even if you are kind of bad at this, but to the degree that you can get good, and this is a skill set. I don't care how bad you think you are on the phone, how bad you are at sales, how introverted you are. I can make anyone amazing at this. But you're going to start off, timeline on this is ongoing, never stops. So you're going to customize this. I have a script for you. You'll customize it a little bit so you don't sound like a robot, make sure it flows. And then you want to start practicing every day. Ideally, practice with an accountability partner or a mentor. You want to be sure to read the overcoming objections manual that's in there. And this is all inside your materials library, inside of Wholesaling with Mike University. Guys, I cannot impress upon you how important this is. You have to know how to talk to people, how to say the right things. These are also written in a way that's very much persuasive. It builds rapport, and a lot of the stuff here is done differently than what you've been traditionally taught. Okay, you're gonna come in even from the intro, right? You have to build your rapport up. You have to start with a pattern interrupt. You have to give these people a choice. Then you have to take them down a specific path and get the information that you need out of them. Within the overcoming objections manual, sometimes your scripts go smoothly, but a lot of times you're going to get met with skepticism and pushback and all these different objections from your sellers, and most people don't know how to respond to that. Hey, who are you? How'd you get my number? You want an offer? No, you called me. You make me an offer first. They don't know how to respond. And so that's going to walk you through exactly how to respond, including the word for word responses to the 13 most common objections you'll get as a wholesaler. You have to practice that. A great story is I used to be very skeptical of using scripts. And then Jordan Belfort, if you guys know Wolf of Wall Street, he said, every movie you've ever seen that moved you, every commercial that made you buy something, he's like, it's all scripted out. Right? It's like, imagine Braveheart, Mel Gibson went up there without a script, and the director's like, "Oh, go paint some blue shit on your face, and um, give a good rousing speech." Like, it doesn't work that way, right? So just use a script. All right, so that's going to be step 5, and that's ongoing. You got to practice that, okay? Next, we get to step 6. 6, 7, and 8, it's like a day apiece, right? So you're going to pull your first list. Now we got to get some contacts. So you're going to pull your first list using tools like PropWire, fantastic tool. It's absolutely free. Privy, a tool that I use, awesome tool. Local public records. In most municipalities, you can get this stuff online. Sometimes it's free. Sometimes it'll run you like $5. A total size for starting at about 1,000, it would be ideal. You can start in chunks, if you're building up different lists of, maybe 100 or so at a time. But remember, the system, when you're using REI Titan, is just about grabbing these lists and basically throwing them into the system and letting the automations kind of do its thing. There are examples, there are specific resources, specific websites, and guidance on how to create these custom lists. The best performing lists that I use are what's the word I'm looking for? Stacked lists, right? So if someone says, "Hey, what's better, pre-foreclosures or vacant properties?" It's like, why not go after a pre-foreclosure that's vacant, right? So when you can stack that data up. And so there's a whole lesson in there on how to build those custom lists, because they're just more areas of motivation, more pain points, making those your higher converting lists, okay? But there's whole training on that, again, inside of Wholesaling with Mike University, and the REI Titan instructional guide. All right, so next, you get your list pulled. Now you want to skip trace that data. There are both free and paid resources. Again, a module that goes through, based on your budget, what you should be using. There is an inverse relationship between time and money. You're going to spend one of the two. Free and cheaper sources. I know you guys see stuff all the time. Hey, free skip trace it, free skip trace it. In my experience, they're not as good. The data is not as good. Can you still do deals with that? Sure. If that's where you are right now, sure. Understand that because the data is not as good, the conversion rates are a little bit lower. It's going to take you a little bit longer. So that's what I mean when I say, hey, you're going to spend time or money. So again, free and cheap resources are typically a little bit slower because you're doing manual labor. Like if you're copying and pasting, like I first did, individual addresses into a site like True People Search or Cyber Background Checks or something like that, it's going to take a little bit longer. I have specific sites inside of Wholesaling with Mike University. Those are stored in there because if newer things come out or better things come out, I keep this program up to date, so I can just go in and switch out. If I have a new top choice, I'll keep that all up to date for you guys. And then step 8, it's time to add contacts to your campaign. So again, this is going to vary based on your strategy selection, which we did up in step, 2 or 3. So your example, maybe direct mail is a thing for you because you have money to spend, but you have very limited time. Or if cold calling is a thing for you, your contacts go into that campaign. Inside of REI Titan, these campaigns are pre-built out. Basically, you drop your contacts in, you select all, and then you select a campaign, and the system goes to work for you. And there's training in there on how that works. All right, so now I've got a little note for you here. Steps 1 through 8, those are largely one and done. You set up your website, done. You go through Wholesale with Mike University one time, it's done. Again, meaning you only do these things once, although you can always revisit the material for a refresher, or if you want to add users to your system, REI Titan, for example, is built for individuals and or teams. If you want to add an additional website, if you want to start additional campaigns, yeah, you'll go back and do those, but this is not daily stuff. As we move into week 3, beginning with step 9, these are ongoing, okay? So you never stop these, even though it says step 9, it starts there, but you do this every day. And instead, you're going to look to refine these processes, to increase the volume, to focus on consistency, to operate faster, and eventually outsource and scale these tasks. But all of these things have to be done daily, okay? So now we're into week 3 and 4, which is going to be prospecting. Now, I talked to you guys about how knowing your script is incredibly important, but if you're not prospecting, you got no one to talk to. So prospecting must be your senior activity every day. You guys are going to get a copy of this, but if you're taking notes, I encourage you to write that down. When I'm working with students, especially my one-on-one students, this is the biggest and most common deficiency initially, right? And I hear things all the time. Oh man, cold calling doesn't work. How many calls did you make? I made like 20 calls and nobody picked up. Say, dude, you got to do a lot more than that. There's some fantastic resources within Wholesaling with Mike University. Watch the prospecting module every week if you need to. It talks about what it actually takes to make this business work. And this is largely a volume issue. If you're getting stuck, for 90% of you, this is going to be where you're getting stuck, okay? So you want to launch and test your campaigns. Part of it is just the campaigns are pre-built. You just want to see how they work, you know? So take your own email, drop it in, see the emails that come back, make sure your email is showing up at the top and it's getting delivered, etc. But understanding how the system works. Make your calls, start talking to people. Practice, practice, practice. Habits, consistency, and getting reps in at this point is more important than your results. That sounds a little bit funny, but I always tell my students you have to temporarily detach from the results. If you're always wondering, man, when am I going to get a deal? When am I going to get a deal? It gets discouraging and it's not serving you. You want to focus on the process. You want to become process oriented. If you just do that, hey, I got to hit my numbers every day, it will work. It's like the person, again, my gym analogy. If you just get on a workout plan and you're, again, in a caloric deficit and you do it for 8 weeks, you're going to see progress at the end of 8 weeks. But if you go in the mirror on day 2 and you're like, man, I don't have a six pack yet. Day 3, you're looking at yourself, where's my six pack? It gets discouraging. You're probably going to stop. Think about this as like your residency, right? So if you go through, you go through school, you go through grad school, you're in school 8 years, you don't come out and you're just this top surgeon. You have this period that's kind of your training, your education in the field. And this is ultimately a very good thing because the vast majority in wholesaling, the vast majority of what you're looking for is not a match, but it's excellent practice. If the first call that you made tomorrow was a motivated seller and you're new to this, it's very unlikely that you're going to get the contract because you're going to make some mistakes. So best to make mistakes, to get a lot of reps in and make those mistakes when it does not count. I even tell my students to do mock calls. I'm like, listen, if you're a person who has a little bit of anxiety, you're a little bit scared, call a realtor in Oklahoma and just talk to them about a property you found on Zillow, right? So there's no at risk, right? You'll never talk to them again. You'll see it's not really that scary, but that's the practice that you need to get in. So again, prospecting, 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 that's what you need to be focused on. Next, you need to be qualifying, right? So as you're talking to people, don't get caught up in just talking, right? I've heard calls where people just, oh man, you like to fish? Me too. And then they're off on a tangent about the best bait. So you want to use your script and take detailed notes as you talk to your prospects. Very important. You can't keep stuff up here, okay? You have to store this. That's the purpose of your CRM. So you enter all of your details into your CRM, and then you're going to qualify your leads and assign leads. You're going to label them, right? You have an opportunities pipeline so you can get a big picture view of where your business is at, right? How many cold leads, how many prospects do you have in the system, how many warm leads, how many hot leads, and it also tells you how to prioritize that follow-up. REI Titan will also automatically qualify and or assign those labels for you when prospects interact with your campaigns, meaning respond to an email or they text back the system, which will text back with them and have a conversation and talk to your AI. It will move them to those different opportunities. Okay, so you're prospecting every day, you're qualifying. Remember, these don't stop, even though we're getting into our next step, which is going to be making offers. If you guys, you can have the best script, talk to the most people, and again, these things stack on top of each other. So if you're not prospecting, you're not going to get to make enough offers. But you have to be prospecting. But if you're not making offers, bro, you can't do deals. Okay, so now you have to start practicing your comping, your deal analysis. Continue to make prospecting your senior activity, of course. I might repeat that like 5 more times. But as you're looking at these properties and maybe even talking to sellers or realtors, practice running your comps, right? Look at the data over and over. Even though that initial exercise just took us 1 day, you want to keep doing this, okay? Keep looking at the data. Practice running those comps, determine your ARV, coming up with those offers. You want to do this exercise a minimum of 20 times before you start to get the hang of it. It's more of an art than it is a science, okay? Once you're kind of good with that, you got to start making offers. Understand, you're going to make offers imperfectly. Also, when you go through the module on making offers, I talk a little bit about you don't need to worry about getting it perfect because there are contingencies in there that that kind of protect you. And there's also ways that I teach you how to talk to people and negotiate and renegotiate. A lot of people think, oh, when you sign the contract, the negotiations stop. It's not true. Oftentimes, when you sign the contract, that's when your real negotiations start. And you can go back in and you can get price reductions and extensions and all kinds of cool things if you fill out your contracts properly. But anyway, now you got to get in the habit of making offers. Don't be afraid to make offers. Don't be afraid to make too low offers. Will you get chastised or ridiculed, or someone will yell at you at some point or get insulted? Yeah, probably. So what? They're probably not your target market anyway. They probably weren't going to sell to you anyway. You're never going to talk to them again. You have to understand there are people out there who need you. It just so happens that you can make it a mutually beneficial situation. So I want you guys to start making offers on everything, everything with potential. Meaning, anything that you suspect, if you have an inkling, if you have just a feeling that they could be selling at a discounted price, just make the offer. So what that means is, like, it could be situational, like if they're on a list where they're getting divorced, so they evicted a tenant, or it's a pre-foreclosure situation, just make the offer. If you know it's vacant, make the offer. If you are looking at properties online and you see a house looks a little bit dated, right? You see a hole in the roof or something like that, any type of damage, you see high grass in the yard, signs on the window, anything like that, just make the offer. But now, for property, because I've said before in the past, like, make offers on everything, and students are making like 70% offers on properties that are brand new. The description says like new granite countertop, new construction, recently renovated, and they're not on a list that shows any motivation. Yeah, not those. Okay, just skip those. Okay, that's going to be kind of a waste of your time. But understand that this is a numbers game, and you have to make a lot of offers. Okay, so that's going to take us through week 5. As we move on, week 6. And again, remember, there is some blending here between the weeks. I got something in my eye. Okay, so week 6 is going to be follow-up and getting your contracts. Follow-up is so important. It's one of the most crucial things in the business. The vast majority of your deals, over 80%, will come by way of follow-up. 48% of wholesalers never follow up once. So when you guys hear this doom and gloom, or you see in all the Facebook groups how this doesn't work, I promise you, most of them have something broken in their pipeline. They've never established it, or they're just not doing it. I remember one time early on in my career, I was with my mentor, and we were in a group mentoring session. And again, I'm there with no money at all. And my mentor Lex is there, and we're kind of going around saying what we've been doing. And there's a couple, married couple, and they dropped like $10,000, like some crazy number, on just direct mail. And they were like, we didn't get a deal. This doesn't work. And what they did is they just did blanket mailing to like zip codes. And they just did it once. And he's like, well, yeah, obviously. That's why, right? You have to do follow-up. You have to touch base with these people multiple times. So now you have to make it a daily practice, right? You're starting to build up your pipeline. As you're calling, those numbers, even if you don't talk to people or they're not interested now, they're going back into your system, okay? And so you have to make it a daily practice to look at your prospects, look where they are, prioritize based on the opportunities, and then you have to follow up with these guys. So there are predetermined times to do this, just to make sure nothing falls through the net. A lot of those are pre-established in your built-in campaigns inside of REI Titan. So sometimes it'll be 14 days, 21 days, sometimes 30 days. But what you really want to do, when people ask me, when's the best time to follow up? Is it 2 weeks? Is it 30 days? The best time is when they kind of tell you to. And what I mean by that is when you're on the phone and you're using the scripts that I give you, you want to be fishing for intel, right? So let's say I'm making an offer on a listed property. I'm talking to an agent, and they're like, well, this is already under contract. You don't want to just say, okay, and then maybe follow up in 30 days. It could fall out of contract, and then someone else scoops it up, especially if it's a deal. They go very quickly. So you want to ask some probing questions. Okay, well, how serious are the buyers? What do you think? Cash buyer? And that's where you have to, again, learn how to talk to people. And that's what we do in these group coaching calls. We do role play. And then I might say, well, they seem pretty serious. Oh, did they put an earnest money down? They may tell you, they may not. But by you asking, you may think you're inconveniencing them, but you're also showing that you're doing your due diligence. And because so many people deal with either new wholesalers or tire kickers, when you're asking these types of questions, it actually adds to your credibility, and they remember you. And also, there's this interesting concept: when people spend more time with you, you naturally build up more rapport, even if it's over the phone. So You can ask, okay, well, listen, I'm pretty interested in this. When is their inspection period up? Because and if they say, they'll tell you maybe it's up on Friday. Maybe they won't. Most of the times these guys will. And you say, okay, cool. Well, I'll shoot you text messages on Saturday, or I'll call you on Saturday just to see, if these guys fall out, I'd love to be next in line. Right. And so in that case, I'd put it in my CRM, put a reminder. You can set it to give you an auto reminder to call. And then on Saturday, I call them. Hey, yeah, those guys dropped out. Because over inspection, especially if it's a wholesale, they're going to cancel the contract. They canceled it, and now you're there. You're first in line. So you want to make sure you're doing your follow up. Step 14 is going to be negotiate, and you got to start signing contracts. I remember this stuff only works with volume. So again, it stacks. The prospecting's got to be there. Your follow up, all that stuff. You got to start making offers. You can't just express interest and then hang up the phone. You got to put an offer out there. REI Titan does have automated electronic document signing. So basically, if I want to make an offer on a property right now, I go into the system, I type in the date I want to close, I type in the amount I want to pay, I click a button, it fills out the whole contract with the property address and everything, fully executed, signed. It sends it to their email. They can click it and sign it just like a DocuSign. They don't have to print or anything. Then you get it back. But yeah, you continue your prospecting, you're making offers, following up. Remember, if the activity levels drop there, you're not going to do deals. Okay. Anytime people start doing deals and they start slowing down, I can always look back maybe 30 days, maybe 60 days, and somewhere in there, they've stopped or slowed down on their prospecting 99 out of 100 times. But here's when you want to review your script and modules on negotiating, particularly that overcoming objections ebook. Now, if you're local, you can set and go on appointments. That makes sense for some people. Personally, I did that when I first started, but I found it to be a massive waste of time. And the time it takes me to drive, let's say you drive 30 minutes, an hour to somebody's house, you sit down, you talk with them, you drive 30 minutes home. In that time, I could be sitting at a Starbucks and make 50 offers. I can call 100 people, like whatever it is. And then in that case, when you're virtual wholesaling, you don't need to meet sellers, you don't need to meet buyers, and you don't need to see these properties. Now, the process is a little bit different, and what really makes this work is going to be the narrative, right? How you speak to these people and how you justify, basically not being there. So there's a whole module on that. It's probably a little bit longer than I can go into right now, but you guys can watch that inside Wholesale with Mike University, supplemental videos, virtual wholesaling. And I'll even show you why, when you use my exact narrative and my exact process, how you're more likely to get the deals and why they're more likely to get, I don't know, things like renegotiations and price reductions, and how it just works out oftentimes better than when you show up there. For example, right, really quickly, if you show up there and you put property under contract and then you send it to your buyers and the buyer's like, well, I need a price reduction, the repairs look a little bit much, or let's say they want to go see it, the seller's going to be like, wait, you saw it, who's this person coming, why are they coming? Then they're telling you, oh, I need a price reduction. It's like, why? You saw it, you inspected it. But if you explain to them, listen, I'm an investor, I buy property sight unseen, but we are going to put an inspection period just so someone could do a walkthrough, just so everything you told me is correct, just to confirm and verify. That makes sense, right? That narrative makes sense. Then when you send someone over, they're expecting them. And then if that person says, hey, yeah, it's more work than we need, then you could say, yeah, it's more work than we need. We didn't know that before, but we have an inspection period. That's why your contingencies and your contract's so important. So we need that $10,000 price reduction, and you're much more likely to get it. That's like the short version, but it's a longer process. But when you understand it, you get your time back, man. It's amazing. You get so much of your time back. And that's so much what I want for you guys, man. I came into this, dead broke, no money, single dad, just wanted to basically hang out with my kid, right? My young daughter. And, at one point it was nice to quit the job. That was pretty great. But it wasn't like sunshine and roses from there. From there, it's like all these late nights and it's driving and traveling and still kind of giving myself a second job. And I really want to give you guys like the fastest kind of step-by-step way to do this, but also to, for fear of sounding like generic or cliche, right? It really is to get you your freedom. And if you take this step by step, it might be we're on step 14 now. You might have forgotten step 1, but if you go through this step by step and operate with a sense of urgency, I promise you this can be the best decision you've ever made. There's a lot of other cool things you can do from here. So ideally right here, the goal, man, I want you guys by this point to get a deal under contract by week 6. Again, the 30-day thing is doable. Is everyone going to do that? Not necessarily, but I mean, you're in this business for, 4 or 6 weeks. You should be able to get something, okay? So that's the goal. Now, if you're struggling here, that's when we got to kind of look in and see, okay, is it a volume issue? Is it your deal analysis issue? And there's a lot of different kind of checks that I can do. And that's, again, the value for anyone who wants to keep joining us and coming to these calls every week that I do with my group mentoring students, or anyone interested in mentorship. This is where we go back in and I can basically look at your data and tell you whether it's your list or it's your prospecting or it's your volume or if it's your analysis or whatever it is, or if I practice with you role playing, I can tell you where you kind of suck and how to like clean that up in like a couple of days. But anyway, next we're going to move on to week 7, right? So again, if you don't have a deal by week 6, something is off. Especially if you're doing this virtually, you don't have to work in a shitty market, right? You can work in the best, most in-demand, high-demand markets. This is not a business where you need to be doing hundreds of deals a month. You can literally do 1 deal a month, and for most of you guys, it's going to replace where you are right now. Most people come to me, they're making between like 40 and 80K a year, and with 1 deal done a month, that's usually well over the $120,000 mark, okay? All right, so sometimes, if this is taking a little longer, you got to just keep back and just pumping these numbers up here in terms of your volume. That's usually the first thing it is. Now, even though I have step 7, week 7 to start building your buyers list, this, I don't know, highlight here. When you get a deal under contract, even if the timeline doesn't align with this plan, you got to drop everything and sell. Okay, D's, right? Just focus on that. You have a limited time to sell your deals based on your inspection period, your closing date, etc. And selling's the priority. So you're gonna drop all this other stuff. You don't want to, leave it and not come back to it and lose the momentum. But there's give and take, and it makes sense for you to do everything. You got to get creative, talk to everybody, go to the local RIA meeting if it's local, do your direct mail, spend your money, the last year money on direct mail, send some flyers, if you're local, put up bandit signs, put ads out there, go to Facebook group. Not just like I've had this situation where some of my students, they'll just go to make a post, drop it on Facebook, and they're like, no one hit me back. It's like, no, go to the marketplace, find every single group in the area. Florida cash buyers, Florida real estate, Palm Beach buyers, Palm Beach investors. Go in there, put a post in every single one of those groups. Then go through the group and find the individuals that are saying they are cash buyers, and hit them up, send them messages individual, just copy and paste the same message, put the property on your website, and then send a link to the website. Make sure you have good pictures and stuff like that up. Go pull a list of cash buyers, send them direct mail with a flyer, pull a list of cash buyers, skip trace it, call every single one of them, look at public records, look at the LLCs that are buying, call. That should be all you're doing when you first get this deal, okay? You got to be like a little bit crazy about that, especially when it's your first one, and especially if you're starting, as most beginners are, as kind of the solopreneur, and you're your only, your acquisitions and dispositions. On that note, a big question I get, a little off topic here, but it's Mike, should I go after buyers or sellers first? I've heard a lot of people reverse wholesaling. And it basically says, you find your buyers, you build your buyers list first. Then once you know what they want, you go and get it. The problem with that is most legit buyers, if you're calling them, hey, can you give me your buy box? I get that shit almost daily at this point. And you find out most people don't perform. So it's kind of a waste of your time. Most buyers are like, man, why don't you hit me when you get something? So I like to use a hybrid model. And then also, you build a list and you don't send people stuff for a while. They're forgetting about you and all kinds of stuff, right? But more importantly, you're not doing any deals during that time. So you're not bringing in any revenue. So I do a hybrid model, which starts with, again, just to reiterate where we started, you look at the actual cash buyer data first, and then you have the archetype of your buyer, but those are based on real people. Then you find that. Then when you get under contract, then you go back to all those same buyers. Hey, that property at 123 Main Street, I'm not just some wholesaler saying, hey, what's your buy box? Hey, that property you own at 123 Main Street, I actually got one at 546 Main Street. Looks pretty similar. Here's the deal. Do you want it? They're already buying there. They're proven, right? So that's how you want to do that. But you can never build your buyers list too big, right? I'm building my buyers list to this day. And obviously the quality changes. There's sometimes I've talked to people and they reach out. We have great discussions. They have a portfolio, and sometimes they're just people that maybe find me on Facebook and go to my website. Could be other wholesalers, could be realtors. I don't know. but it doesn't matter because I'm sending it out to everyone, right? When I'm advertising deals. So step 15, you're going to start building your buyers list. Now, again, when I said drop everything, that's if you have a deal. If you don't have a deal, you don't want to stop your prospecting and your other stuff and then start building your buyers list. They do kind of have to happen simultaneously. So again, prospecting and follow up should start feeling easier at this point, right? Now that you have your routine going and you want to set aside a predetermined time. Don't just do this when I'm free, when I have time. Like, you have to structure your day. Everything has to be like a business, okay? Running smoothly like a McDonald's. Um, and the time you have and the money you have, it's going to vary based on your available time and your available budget. But just an example, you can set aside 1 hour every Friday with untouchable time. This task must be completed to pull a list of cash buyers and then send them direct mail. These are buyers who have already purchased. You can get that information for free inside of PropWire, for example. You can set aside, and this works, maybe you have a little bit more time, less money. You can set aside 30 minutes each day at the end of the day to go through your Facebook groups that you've saved, that you've joined all of them, and then message buyers there directly. Now, is the quality going to be as good? Now you tend to find more tire kickers and more wholesalers posing as buyers in those groups, but still, it's better to start getting your name out there. You can connect with other wholesalers for JV opportunities. And again, note your best buyers will be those who have a history of already purchasing properties in your market with cash. There are additional details and training on this inside of Wholesaling with Mike University. If anyone joined us late, there's a link in this document, or you go to wholesalingwithmike.com/free and you get access to Wholesaling with Mike University for free. And you can get a free trial of the software, which also is bundled with group mentorship. Okay, I know we're a little bit over the hour point, but I'm just gonna go through two more, and we can do questions or whatever. So week 8 is going to be evaluate and optimize. So this point is where you're doing self-assessments, kind of refining your business. So now that you have a data set built up, right? A lot of people don't give this stuff enough time to marinate. They're like, oh, they tried too much stuff before they give it time to build a data set. It'd be like, this is a struggle a lot of people have with diets. Okay, hey, I'm gonna do keto diet. They do 1 week and they don't see results. Okay, now I got to try this Atkins diet. If that didn't work, I'm going to try it. And they're constantly switching, or workouts. I'm going to do, slow or heavy and low reps. And then 1 week they don't have a six pack. Okay, now I'm going to do, high reps and this. And it's the constant switching that really trips you up. Okay. So now you have a data set built up, and you want to analyze your results and understand what's working best. What are the campaigns working best? What are the lists, the areas, the lead generation methods that I'm using? How many calls? And again, this is where the reporting and the data inside of REI Titan, this is where it comes together, okay, to really show you what's working for you without you having to try to figure this stuff out off of, I don't know, pen and paper. You can look at your personal daily activities, right? How many calls should you make today? Should look pretty much the same each day. Exceptions to the rules. Some of you guys work different schedules, but you should see consistent activity. It's not, man, again with the gym analogy, but imagine what's better. The person who does the audit and says, listen, I only have 20 minutes a day. I want to lose some weight. So I'm going to go for a jog every day for 20 minutes, but I'm going to do it every day. Versus the person who says, oh, I'll go to the gym when I feel like it, but when I go, I'll do a 5-hour session and work really hard. It's the consistency that makes this work, right? So now you want to look at yourself and kind of determine where are your areas of improvement, where are you falling off, kind of highlight those. And that's something I can help you guys see as well, but where you need to improve. Okay, then you want to strive for more consistent activity and look to beat your own numbers. If you made 25 calls yesterday, make 30 today. If you made 30 yesterday, just, hey, I can do one more, 31. The next day, hey, let me get 40, and see how high you can kind of push this while remaining consistent. Then you want to know your processes well enough so you can teach them to someone with no experience, meaning these are structured, you have SOPs. A lot of this stuff, again, in REI Titan is done for you, but if you bring another user on, there's a tab where you can say, assign it to this specific user, and then you tell them, this is your job, this is what you need to do, this is the data that's going to be coming to you. You start creating those. Okay, and now just 2 more steps here. It's going to be weeks 9 through 12. It's just to close some more deals. Okay, that's the primary thing. So you want to put this together. This stage here is less about adding more things to do. You're not trying to really stack more stuff onto your plate. You're trying to do what you're already doing, but do it better. Do it consistent. Do it without missing a day. Do it, so you get a voicemail, you call that person back immediately, right? You have that speed with your prospecting. Before, um, when you are calling, right? When you were prospecting, um, sorry, I'm looking at the chat here. Maybe you only hit a certain number of calls, right? But now, you're doubling that, right? You're 25% increasing, 50% increasing. And I will get to the chat, guys, if you have questions, so keep dropping them in there. But now you're looking to push volume, and you're getting better at this. You're a little bit smoother. You learn when to cut conversations short and things like that, right? You're making more calls. You're being consistent and doing this process every day. It gets easier. If you've never worked out, it's like my fourth gym analogy, but the first day, the first week, it's tough. It's mentally challenging. Your body's sore. It sucks. You're weak. But after, a month or 3 months in the gym, that same workout that killed you on day one, it feels easier. You're stronger. You can do more. Like, it's just natural progression, but you have to have been going consistently. Okay. Um, you want to aim to do like 2 to 3 deals during this time. Now, after that, what we want to do is start outsourcing, delegating, and scaling. So once you have a closed deal or a few closed deals, depending on the profit, I've done deals for 40 grand. I've also done deals for $1,500. That's probably the side that you don't hear about so much. That's rare, but it does, things like that happen. Sometimes you get these, especially MLS deals, you may get 3 grand here, 4 grand here. So depending on the profit, you're going to, again, go back and review that strategy selection worksheet, and you are paying for speed. Don't make the mistake I made of like just trying to be cheap because I'm looking at everything as an expense. There was a time when I was working with my mentor very early, and I had done, I don't know, some deal, and I had like $8,000 in my bank account. At that time, it's the most money I've ever had in my bank account at a time. And for me, I was like, oh, this is amazing. Um, and then you learn how fast 8 grand goes. But he told me, he's like, man, like, spend it all. And I was like, are you fucking crazy? Absolutely not, man. I'm gonna save these. I said, like, I did this deal without any money. I don't need money to do deals. I'll do all my deals free. Not realizing that he's saying, man, you can spend the 8 and turn that into 80, right? But you have to spend it properly. You can't just be a knucklehead and just spend it on whatever. But he was basically telling me to pay for speed, to pay for efficiency. As long as you can justify the ROI, again, it's that machine. You put $1 in, 5 comes out. So you want to do that. You want to be buying your time back. Not only are you buying your time back for yourself, but you're also increasing and scaling up the operations. And the way you do that is, one, if you were doing any tasks manually, right? Remember, there's levels to this stuff, right? So any task manually, if you were skip tracing one by one, when I first started, I had a spreadsheet. I would copy an address and paste it into a website, and try to get skip tracing and do phone numbers that way. If I'm trying to contact an agent, I would copy it, put it into Zillow, try to find the listing agent. If I couldn't find their email, I'd Google search it. I'd try to find them on LinkedIn, so I could, get their direct number or whatever. So if you're doing a task manually, pay for the bulk skip tracing. It'd be worth it. You guys are here, oh man, this skip tracing is like 3 cents a skip, but this one's 15 cents a skip, and you're trying to save 10 cents, not realizing that the quality of this one is trash. And even though, maybe a percentage of them will work, it's going to take you like 3 more months to do a deal. Whereas if you just paid the extra, 10 cents a skip, man, you're going to have like 3 more deals in the same time that this other person did none. So don't, what's the saying? Jump over dollars to save like pennies. Yeah. Next, hire a VA. VAs are relatively inexpensive. Well, obviously, depending on where you get them, but you can get a good quality VA relatively inexpensively. Highly recommend you go with someone who already has experience in the field. A quality cold caller is usually the first choice, and then there you can increase the number of prospects that you're getting come into your system while decreasing your workload. Not only decreasing like the calls you make, but and the time you spend in the business, but allowing you to do like better stuff with your time. Okay. And then you can expand to another strategy based on KPIs. Okay. So what I mean here is, when I talked earlier about like that direct mail example, you don't want to start in the beginning just trying a whole bunch of stuff. You spread yourself too thin. It'd be like, let's say you had a nest egg of $100,000 and you say, hey man, I want to open a restaurant. I'm going to make it the best restaurant. I'm going to make sure everyone knows about it. I'm going to put it on a busy corner. I'm going to be there. I'm going to manage it until I hire a manager who's going to control the service, the quality. Everything's going to be good. And I'm going to spend all my money on ads to send everyone to this restaurant. And you do that, and it starts getting really successful. That's kind of what we're going for here. As opposed to someone says, wow, this restaurant is really successful. Imagine if I opened up 5 of them, I'd make 5 times as much money. But now you got to pay rent in all 5 places. You're not there to manage quality control. Quality goes down. The food sucks. You can't advertise efficiently for 5 restaurants, and then 4 of them like drain you, and then it bankrupts the first one. Like everything goes under because you're trying to grow too fast, right? I want you to grow fast, but there's a checkpoints to it, right? You have to hit certain milestones. So once you again go back to that KPI strategy, um, selector tool, and talk to me and stuff like that, I'll tell you, now you can start opening up other marketing channels, right? So before, if you could only afford to do cold calling, for example, now you have and you have a budget of $2,000, like comfortably. Now you can still do your cold calling, and you can outsource some of your cold calling, and now you can bring in direct mail, right? And so you're opening up other channels, but you don't start doing all that in the beginning. Very rare. Okay. All right, so that's kind of where we are for here. Obviously, it's a lot of information. It's like 12 years I'm trying to give you in 1 hour. But I will tell you, I'm going to invite you guys again. I'll send this out to everyone via email, and I guess this recording. There are links in there. So remember, Wholesale with Mike University is free forever. The REI Titan comes with a trial. Someone's asking for the price. REI Titan is $197 for the month. Now, the way that I do it is it's bundled with group mentorship. So with group mentorship, you have access to our mastermind group. You can come in, you can ask questions. That's all with me. I'm involved in all my mentorship. I want you guys successful. We have these types of calls every single week. Kind of a mixed bag, but whatever you guys need to be successful, that's what it takes. When people say, hey man, that REI Titan thing, there's a whole bunch of CRMs and stuff out there. Sure, obviously, right? But again, I do think we do some things very different. I've looked over everything in here. I've worked with professional copywriters, made sure it's done to standard, but these things are all, it's been battle tested, 12 plus years. This is not people who are just programmers. But more importantly, the number one thing that I have that other software doesn't come with is me. It comes with me, right? So I'm here to coach you guys. And in terms of mentorship, group mentoring is an effective way. Obviously, one-on-one is the fastest way to go, but group mentorship is a little bit more budget friendly. So it comes wrapped up, and then I can work with you guys and work in your systems. I can go in and see what you're doing and see the back end, see a little bit of transparency, so I can help you out there. Also, an invitation to anyone here. Listen, if you just have a few questions, you want to chat about a couple things, I'm here for you guys. If you want to go faster, everything we talked about here, if you want to take it to the top level, if you need help with your first deal, never done a deal before, or you've done some deals, you want to scale, if you need a mentor, whatever you need, there's some details on that page. It's a free call. I don't do any pressure sales or anything like that. I'll answer your questions. I'll help you out with a game plan. And then if you do want interested in mentorship, I only take mentors after those phone calls. I need to make sure you're a good match for me as much as I'm a good match for you. I'm not for everyone. I can be a little harsh. Can be a little bit a little bit aggressive at times, I guess. Those spots, one-on-one in particular, are very they are limited. I never work with more than 10 students actively. Also, for any of you guys who have been in the program and REI Titan, whatever you have paid towards that, I will take it and use it as a credit towards mentorship. So if you want to go into one-on-one, Mike, I'm ready to do this. I want to do this fast. I want to scale. I want to get 3 to 5 deals a month. Hit me up. We'll talk about it. I can help you guys out. I can do payment plans, things like that. All I ask from you is that you don't take this lightly. Don't take it as a hobby. You have to be serious. I will not waste your time. I don't want anyone to waste my time. That's just me being real with you guys. So go ahead, go to that website, book that call. Also, in terms of the REI Titan, I do have a special right now. Probably run it we're almost at the end of the year, maybe another week or so. But if you buy the annual plan, right now it's like 60% off, 60. That will be going away. But that's if you're interested in the annual plan. But again, take it for a test drive, right? Take it for a test run, check it out. Also, you'll have, you can come to another one of these meetings. These are usually just for mentoring students, but I kind of opened it up to some other folks who were on my subscribers list. Using my voice, losing my voice. Text messages, yeah, there are some usage fees. You do get a credit every month when you're starting, so that's included in your membership. And these, I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's like a percentage of a penny. So basically, you start off with a credit that gets you about either 800 calls, I think text messages like 700 text messages, or 10,000 emails. I can actually pull it up. But in terms of the ROI you get, um, it's very inexpensive. I don't like profit on the usage fees. That's just what it costs. Same with your direct mail. Your direct mail campaigns in the system, they're all built out. And they're built out in a way where I promise you guys, these are the highest converting um, mailers that I've used in 12 years. There are things on there. The messaging is different from other direct mail you've seen. The marketing is different. The QR code system, the websites they go to, the tracking, and also kind of the mixed bag. So you'll have small postcards, you'll have large postcards, you'll have um, invitations, yellow letters. It's all mixed up. And in order to do that, you put your contacts in, you click a button, and you say send direct mail campaign. It's taken care of for the next year. All done, all scheduled. And if someone responds to it, um, it kills it. So you're not paying for it. And again, I don't upcharge on that. You just pay for the postage. So most of them are like I don't know, like 70 cents. Depends on the invitation style or letter or whatever. And then yeah, text message is 0.011 cents. So $10 will get you about 840 text messages. Yeah, I'll put this recording together somewhere for sure, man. All right, let me scroll up, man, and see if I got any other questions. But Warren, good to see you, brother. Uh, yeah, some people said they were cutting out early. I know some people told me they'd watch the replay. So yeah, I'll put this up. I'll send. What is this thing? My map. See, it's getting later. I've been talking. My voice is going. So you guys have any questions, let me know. Again, the links will be in here, but if you don't want to wait, because I'll send this out tomorrow, the website to get Wholesaling with Mike University is wholesalingwithmike.com/free. REI Titan, just go to reititan.com. There's more details. I didn't go into it here, but you can see all like the features, the bells and whistles and all that cool stuff. REI Titan includes a dialer, and I'm going to tell you that my dialer is the best one, and for this reason. There are different kind of bells and whistles that other dialers have, and yeah, I've used a lot of them. But I think where we excel here is, for example, there are like 10 line dialers. In that sense, it would be superior. This is not like a 10 line dialer. Okay, so again, I'm always transparent with you guys with these things, right? But I've used dialers in the past. What happens is you call, and then someone doesn't pick up, right? Or you don't hear back from them, and then you have to either take that data and manually put it into a CRM and figure out when you need to follow up with the people, and it gets very, very messy. Okay, so the way that this dialer works is that you drop your information. Once you put them into the dialer, you do it once, and then all the follow-up is done for you. So you call them, they don't pick up, you just click end, and then you can it even does like voicemail drops, and you can send text messages and stuff like that after each call, automatically. But then once you end it, it's not like it goes, and you have to figure out when to call them again. It just like kind of disappears, and then the next day when you open up your system and you go to start your dialer up, it'll be in there. And then let's say so the first two calls go back to back, day to day, just so in case you miss someone. But then you say you call them, and then they don't pick up, or you drop a voicemail, whatever it is. Then it goes away, and you don't have to think about it again. And then 7 days later, when you open up your dialer to make new calls, it's gonna be in there, right? So the system automatically does the follow-up on your behalf, so you don't have to try to organize. And then if you want to see what round someone's in, like you can see everything. So it's like, I called this person 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. Like it shows you, and you can segment lists and how many times you call people, but all the follow-up is there, so you don't have to do any of that stuff manually. So the dialer is included. There's usage rates there, but again, you get a credit in the beginning of the month that'll get you about 600-700 calls, and then $10 will get you about 700 calls or so. $10 gets you about 10,000 emails in the system, and that stuff's all detailed on with the web page as well. Um, so yeah, check that out, guys. Thank you so much for joining me, especially on a Friday. I held you a little longer, but hopefully not too long. If you guys are ready to start off the new year, 2025, um, make sure you book that call. If I can help you in any way, if you're interested in joining, again, group mentorship is bundled with REI Titan. If you are doing a one-on-one, come in, we'll talk to that. I will work with you, make sure we get you in here. Again, I'm just asking that you are going to take this really serious. It's aggressive, it moves fast. I want to see you successful. I want to do deals. And also, I want you to ideally, you don't have to, but you can use my buyers list. I've got a buyers list of over 20,000 buyers. So if you bring me a deal in a market that I give you, I can sell those deals relatively quickly, and it ends up being mutually beneficial for all. So please go ahead and feel free to use this information, and let's rock and roll. I'd love to hear your success stories and talk to you guys throughout the new year. And remember, don't wait. Hey, I'll start next week. Next week, those people, you just procrastinate forever. Get started on this stuff like tomorrow. Okay, I would say today, but today I'll give you. You can slide. It's a little bit late. But get started on this, and it can be such a fantastic, phenomenal, rewarding. I have not stepped foot inside an office in 12 years. I have not had a boss. And I get to do things that a lot of parents, quite frankly, don't get to do, right? My daughter gets out of school at 3. We will go to the gym, we'll hang out. A lot of parents, they don't get off work till 5, right? So it's not just the financial benefits, but it's really the lifestyle. And then when you guys also learn the virtual wholesaling method, can do deals from anywhere while you're on vacation. And especially with a lot of automations there within our system, it helps a lot. Okay. All right. So thanks again so much for joining tonight, guys. If you got any other questions, make sure you sign up for the call or just hit me up on any my socials. On Instagram is probably best. Okay. All right. Thanks for joining. Everyone have a fantastic night, great weekend. And for some of you, if I don't see you, have a great holiday and a great new year. All right. Talk to you guys later. Have a good night.